Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Soul Ecosystem Podcast. I cannot believe I have done this 10 Fridays in a row. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you that are new, the Soul Ecosystem Podcast is a podcast about soul contracts. We talk about soul contracts and soul purpose, reincarnation, past lives, karma, and everything of the like. This episode, I kind of wanted to touch on the essentials that you need to know in regards to soul contracts. Personally, me, when I started off learning about soul contracts, I assumed that if you were able to go into the spiritual realm and see your soul contract, you would know who you were meant to be. You would know what kind of jobs you were meant to do, like what is your calling, what is your role. What I found is that souls are so much more complex than the very limited notions and limited beliefs that we hold about ourselves, about identities, about roles. And I found that soul contracts aren't going to tell you your career path, but they're going to let you know kind of the end goal of who you want to become. So while your soul contract doesn't get really specific, it does open up a world. It does open up this intricate system and intelligence that you didn't know was available to you before, that you somehow already internally know. When I first took a look at my soul contract, I felt very naked. I felt like my entire essence was sprawled on a sheet of paper or multiple sheets of paper. And it felt like the core being of who I am and the idea of what it is that I want to accomplish in life was right there. One of the missions in my soul contract specifically is to unite people towards a common goal. I see this program very often in people that were meant to put themselves out there, put their voice out there, and share things about their path, about their journey, their experience, or their expertise in order to help the collective in some shape or form. Now, while that didn't state exactly what I would be doing, it gave me a general enough idea of what the ultimate end goal was that I was able to pinpoint how I'm going to get there. I mean, this isn't to say that I figured it out. I have a general sense of the direction in which to go. And I've come to terms, I've accepted that sometimes you're just not going to know all the steps. You're not going to know everything there is to know about something, about your path. You're not going to know what you're doing like 90% of the time. But when you learn to read the signs of the universe nudging you in the direction that you are meant to be on, life gets a lot easier. So think of the soul contract as a map. You are going to see a whole lot of different places, a lot of different destinations. And these destinations are past life lessons, karma, subconscious programs that you're dealing with. You can use these points as tools in order to guide you to where it is that you would like to go. So that's the first essential thing I think that everybody needs to know in regards to soul contracts, especially before they book one. If you are looking for it to specifically say that you are going to own your own coffee shop or your own cat cafe. My eldest daughter has been talking about how she wants to make a cafe for cats where people can bring their cats to, and in the bathrooms they're going to have litter boxes for the kittens. So your soul contract isn't going to specifically say where you are going to find yourself in 5-10 years when you have that dream job, but it's going to nudge you in the right direction in order to see where it is that you were meant to go. See what your soul wants to learn. And when you know what your soul wants to learn, when you know and when you have a sense of what it is the soul wants to experience, you're going to be like, okay, I don't think that my current profession, I don't think my current job is aligned with that vision, aligned with the mission of being a healer, or aligned with the mission of being a teacher, being in a leadership role, or expressing yourself creatively. In fact, a lot of the past lives that I see come up, I would say the most common one is the hermit past life. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you like kept to yourself and you completely like ostracized yourself from the rest of the world. It's just the past life of somebody that didn't use their gifts. They didn't live up to their potential. They kind of kept the beauty and the talent that they had inside of their souls, the artistic expression, the creative expression inside themselves. They kept it to themselves and they didn't share it with the world. So now when they reincarnate in this new incarnation, you will often get more support in this lifetime in order to make sure that you are able to carry that lesson out. Carry the lesson of, I should be authentically myself. I shouldn't be afraid to voice what it is on my heart. I shouldn't be afraid to be expressive, creative, and put myself out there. I feel like a lot of the limiting beliefs that are behind this specific past life karma are associated with opinions of others. They're people pleasers. They are people that cannot get out of their head about, oh, well, I cannot possibly pursue this in this profession because what is my grandma going to think? What are my neighbors going to think? What's my family going to think? And they get really sucked into this kind of stagnation and this kind of like deer in headlights where they decide to not pursue anything or to pursue something that is safer because they are afraid of what's going to happen if they take a leap of faith and put themselves out there. I feel like the reason that soul contracts don't specifically state everything that you're going to experience and what it is that you were meant to do professionally in your life, and this is very divinely intended, is because the universe doesn't want you to associate your identity as a profession. The last thing that the universe wants you to be doing is putting your identity, putting your entire personality into being a piano player, a singer, an artist. You are so much more multidimensional than that, and so is your work. It's not just that you were the authentic expression of yourself and you were able to express your feelings and your thoughts and your ideas through your artwork, through your music. It's also about the effect that it has on other people, the inspiration that it gives other people, the joy and the emotions that the collective gets from what it is that you have shared. So you won't find a job title in your soul contract, but you will find a guided path that will help you realize your gifts, that will help you realize what it is that your soul hopes to earn in this lifetime, and how you can use those gifts and talents that you have and experience that you have in the present. Oftentimes I see past lives of very, very gifted healers, of people that were very, very powerful, and they did exceptional work. And usually I find them using this knowledge to an extent from a past life in a current life. You don't really forget what you know. Like, you have this inner knowing of what it is that you learned in a past life, and sometimes you apply it subconsciously to this incarnation. So the soul contract is more of a map, a system of guidance in order to realign you with what it is that your soul wants to do in this incarnation. And that leads me to my next point. The second point I would like to make is as kind of like the essential thing to know about soul contracts is that they are not set in stone. There is always free will, while certain very pivotal experiences in life, like marriages, deaths, births, are more so predestined. We are very much the creators of our reality. We're in charge of our reality. We're in charge of our choices. We still have free will, and we can always change our soul contract in an incarnation if it no longer serves us. If we've evolved past it and we have more potential growth that we would like to accomplish, We can always edit it and put other things into it. So, for example, I see a lot of clients with prison programs. The majority of the times, prison programs doesn't mean literal prison. It just means a person is very, very stuck in a certain situation. They have a very hard time freeing themselves from certain limiting constructs. But on the rare occasion, it literally means a prison sentence. There's a potential for a prison sentence. And I do see it pop up, the prison program pop up sometimes in people that have a prison sentence. A very good example of this is the Menendez brothers. It's the younger brother, I believe his name was Eric Menendez. He has a prison program. So in regards to his contract, when he incarnated, there was that potential that he was going to go to prison. There may be times where a soul feels like it needs to experience a set thing in order to learn this lesson that it wants to learn and move on to the next task. So for whatever reason, Eric Menendez's soul decided that it needed to actually experience a prison sentence in order to evolve as a soul. Could he have avoided it? Possibly. We always have free will. We always choose to do the things we choose to do, but oftentimes people are imprisoned for things that they didn't do. There's a possibility in cases of false imprisonment that a soul needed to experience that in order to learn something. Which brings me to my next point. Karma is not punitive. There is no punishment for certain actions from a past life. The intention is always growth. The intention is always growth and evolvement, not punishment. And the best way that souls go about doing that, if in one life you were a tyrant, you experienced a position of power and you abused it severely, in order to kind of flip that extreme and bring a person back to, oh, I should have empathy for people. I should give people a freedom of choice. I should respect their free will. In the next incarnation, he might experience the opposite extreme of the position that he was in. So he might be put into a position that severely humbles him and helps him learn this necessary lesson of empathy and how important it is to have the freedom of choice. He might be put into a position where he doesn't have the freedom of choice. If he was specifically abusive to a certain gender or a certain race, he might be put into this person's shoes in order to experience what that is like so he can have the aha moment. This offers the best opportunities for learning and soul evolution and soul growth. So along with needing to know that soul contracts are more of a guide, more of a map than a very concrete, itemized document of everything that you're going to experience in a lifetime. And along with karma not being punitive, karma being about growth and evolvement, I wanted to touch on soul ties. Oftentimes into incarnations, we bring over our soul family, people that we had ties from a previous life. Now, your roles between lifetimes may switch from time to time. You might not always be a partner of this person, a spouse. You might sometimes be a mother. You might sometimes be a father, a sibling, a best friend. But just like they could be somebody close to you and have a very positive influence on you, your soul family can also agree to become villains in your lifetime. Now, to the 3D self, I'm including myself, it sounds absolutely absurd, because why would somebody that is connected to me, that I've known in so many past lives before, that has been this place of support, this place of comfort for me, choose to completely uproot my life and destroy my life? This is something I have spoken to clients about, clients that have had very difficult upbringings or difficult relationships with their loved ones, with the people that they grew up with. it is very, very important to know that once we get out of the 3D and we go back into the spirit realm, and when we meet these souls, we might not recognize them at all. We might find that they are not the villains that we saw in this incarnation, that they're in fact very loving and they care about us very much. They just take on these roles in order to help us become the people that we were meant to become. It sounds very backwards, and it's very painful to experience on the 3D plane. But once we're out of it, we are going to be in a completely different mentality about this. We are going to be able to see the bigger picture of what it is that we were trying to accomplish through all of this trial, through all of this pain and trauma, and realize that this soul was helping us evolve on a much faster scale than we would have been able to do on our own had we been put into a position where we're very comfortable, where we grew up in a supportive environment. It would take us much longer because there's no pressure. There's no need to learn how to love yourself. There's no need to get rid of your abandonment issues. There's no need to stop with the people-pleasing tendencies and be completely courageous and authentically yourself. Without these quote-unquote villains in our life, we wouldn't be pushed to that. So it sucks to hear, honestly. It sucks to say it to me. But I feel like I had to mention that for some reason in this episode. So yes, along with the soul contracts that we have as souls with ourselves about the things that we want to learn in our lifetime, we have soul contracts with other people. There are various people that we meet along the way that help us learn lessons that form us into the people that we are. And again, there's free will there. If there is a specific toxic contract that keeps coming up for you, you can always choose to break those contracts. You can cut those cords and the vows that you've made with a soul if it gets to be too much. In a way, I feel like you're only postponing it to experience it in a different lifetime, but when you pass and go back to the spiritual realm, you will have the opportunity to set yourself up for success a little better in the next lifetime if it became too much for you to handle the toxicity or the abuse in this lifetime. And there's no judgment in regards to that. There's no judgment. Sometimes it gets to be too much. And when it is too much, you can just be like, okay, I need to be done with this bond. I need to be done with this karmic tie and let this person go for now. Otherwise, I won't be able to fulfill my mission. So in the same way that you can break ties with people that become too painful, you can heal and reprogram your soul contracts. The thing I loved about my soul contract is I could almost see specifically what age certain programs came online for me, subconscious programs. I could see where certain mentalities and limiting beliefs came online because I was like, I remember when I used to think that, or I remember starting to accept this limiting belief and kind of shooting myself in the foot and not being able to move past it. The thing is, you can identify these mentalities with the help of soul contracts in order to heal and move past them. So an example of this would be the self-destruction program. There is a subconscious program called self-destruction, and the underlying theme of self-destruction is a person will not let themselves have a good thing. They will have a tendency of ruining something that is working out for them because they get very in their head and start self-sabotaging. For different people, it may be different things, like the underlying reason behind the self-destruction. It could be an issue with worth, it could be an issue with self-love, but the program there is that the person starts to self-destruct. So if you ever start getting comfortable in a relationship and everything is going smoothly, this person may start to nitpick at things and be like, okay, I need to pick a fight because it has been going way too good for me. This isn't how it usually happens. I usually have very horrible luck with finding a partner, very horrible luck with finding a job, and they start imploding on themselves. And there's a way to heal that. There's a way to heal the self-destruction tendency once you get to the root of what is causing it. And you can choose to add new programs, add new subconscious beliefs to your contract, add things that you want to experience in this lifetime. If you want to not be in a constant state of survival, if you want to thrive in this lifetime, you are completely in charge because you are a sentient being. You are a divine spark of the universe. I was reminded of that this week. Your thoughts hold so much power. So your thoughts become your reality. Whatever you're thinking, you are actively bringing into what you see before you. So if you are a naturally negative person, I won't say naturally, if you're a negative person, you will never cease to find things to be negative about. You will never cease to find problems. You will never cease to see people on the road that don't know how to drive, people in grocery stores that can't possibly be considerate of other people's time, personal space. I'm definitely not speaking from experience. But this is something that with time is able to be reprogrammed. You don't always have to go to the worst case scenario whenever somebody calls you up and says, guess what? Or I have to talk to you about something. You can reprogram your mind and you can assume, just take it as fact, that everything always works out for you, that you are very lucky, that you are very blessed. This is something that I am trying to instill into my children, especially my girls, because we live in a world where the odds are against them of having an empowered state of mind, of being confident and secure in themselves and their self-image. So I've made it a practice of telling them affirmations, of memorizing affirmations, and speaking it with them as I'm walking them to their bus stop. And I'm hoping by instilling that, by having them say that to themselves, that if they say it enough, that they'll start to believe it. Because that's what I'm trying to do for myself. I'm trying to reparent myself and do a lot of inner child healing, a lot of inner child work. And it is incredibly difficult to do it as an adult when you already kind of have your mentality set. Like your brain is your brain, your thoughts are your thoughts, and you keep having the same thoughts that you've had for decades and decades. But it is possible. I will let you know when or how long it takes me to reprogram my brain. But I was actually on Nicole's from the Spiritual Sisters podcast 2025 Vision Board workshop. And one of my biggest takeaways from that call is how to reprogram your brain, how to recognize limiting beliefs, recognize certain mindsets that are keeping you stuck in your energies, keeping you stuck in certain habits and thought patterns, and how to start to reframe them. It is a lot of work, but she recommended a lot of very useful tools in order to do so. One of which that I will be trying is, what do you call it when you're listening to meditations as you sleep? It's like very, very quiet, but like it's quietly, like there's affirmations quietly playing in the background, but there's also meditative music. So you're hearing the meditative music, but not the affirmations. Anyway, I'll be trying that. So yes, I'm dedicating personally 2025 to healing limiting beliefs and healing subconscious programs. And your soul contract chart will help identify some of these limiting beliefs and these mental blocks that you will have to grow through in this incarnation. One of the specific programs that I have is called Burnout Program. And that program is about not being able to assess your energy expenditure very well. Whenever I get excited about something, like I usually go all in, like I can spend hours and hours and hours, like not eating, doing something that I'm excited about, and then completely burn myself out on this new idea that I was so excited about, and then I have no interest left in this idea. I've burnt myself out. I'm like, okay, I dug way too deep into this. I need to get out of here. So the lesson there, the takeaway there is to learn how to balance the energy output, how to not burn yourself out, but take it step by step, treat it like a marathon, not a race. And that way you're going to be able to have some endurance, be able to like carry yourself to the finish line instead of like trying to do everything all at once and then burning yourself out. In regards to healing subconscious patterns, one of the biggest and probably my most favorite examples of healing subconscious patterns is when I see celebrities that have the subconscious program called fear of career realization. I feel like it is so telling that I feel like it exemplifies how far you can go once you heal these limiting beliefs so well. And that's the part that excites me about soul contracts the most. When I get into your energy, when I get into your soul contract, I am transported to the place where these soul contracts are made pre-incarnation. And the energy there is of such excitement and inspiration. It's absolutely insane. When you feel the potential of a soul, when you feel the limitless potential, like I'm having unlimited, um, I'm having that Wicked song in my head playing right now. Unlimited. Um, when you feel the potential a soul has, it is just mind blowing. It is one of my favorite things to tune into, and it's something that I noticed very early on as I started reading soul contracts. I read their energy and I'm like, these people don't understand how far they can take these gifts, how far they can take these blessings that they've been bestowed with and these lessons. Like they could travel the world. They could become the most influential person in whatever profession that they're in. It's incredibly, incredibly inspiring. And I feel like that's the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to take from this episode. The biggest takeaway is that you guys have absolutely no idea what you are capable of. Why did that come out bad? I said it in such a positive way, but that's coming out bad. I mean it in the sense that when you look at yourself on a soul level, when you guys look at your soul contracts, what you agree to experience, a lot of the most well-renowned people in the world have very similar soul contracts to you, and you have that potential. So yes, this was talking about the fear of career realization subconscious program. That was a mouthful. That program means that the person is afraid to kind of be like they kind of have this like politeness to them where they're like, I don't want to step on any toes, but like maybe give me a shot. I can play that role better if it's in a movie, or I could manage this group of people, like I could take over this project better and lead it to be successful. The most successful celebs, the absolutely most like household name celebs have this subconscious program, and that means that they've healed it. They've learned that in order to get someplace, in order to get the kind of success, achieve the kind of success that they've seen in their lifetime, you have to step over this politeness and advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, and be like, I can do this. I got this. I'll be able to step into this role and make it wildly successful. But yes, that should be the biggest takeaway from soul contracts. If you feel like your soul contract is particularly heavy, don't be discouraged, because the ceiling is only as high as you set it. I wonder how many of us, once we're out of the 3D reality and in the spirit realm again, I wonder how many of us are going to look back on our lifetime and be like, if only I had known that I can dream bigger, if only I had known that I could achieve so much more. Like if somebody had just told me that, hey, I can be the next biggest author, be the next biggest star, all across Hollywood. I wonder how many of us would want to like come back into this incarnation and be like, okay, like do better, be better, dream bigger. Because on a soul level, we are all these very little excited souls that just want to learn, just want to experience things. And we get the chance to do so through incarnations. But we limit ourselves based on how we were brought up, based on the things that we were told about how money is very hard to make. You have to work tirelessly for other people, and then you just work until you retire and then die. All of these limitations that we're kind of programmed with, we don't see it consciously, but subconsciously they are very much there. That's the main thing to remember. You are the one that puts limits on yourself. You are the one that's putting that ceiling up there and being like, I cannot possibly go higher than this. I'm going to dare you to break that ceiling. I'm going to dare you to dream a little bigger, just the most wild that you can, and see where that lands you. Because I guarantee it's going to be someplace where you've never thought possible. Because again, the biggest household names have the subconscious fear of being seen, putting themselves out there. And I think that is saying a lot about our potential, about what happens when we realize that other people shouldn't be telling us our limits. Other people shouldn't be telling us how far we can go. We're very much in control of that. We are the creators of our own destiny and of our own reality. If you guys were interested in taking a look into your soul contract, you can do so by visiting my website at thesoulecosystem.com. I also have an Etsy shop called The Soul Ecosystem, where I have put up my services and offers. If you guys don't want to splurge on the full 25 to 30 page soul contract, you could also get just the highlights, in which I intuitively pick out the things that stand out the most for you in your soul contract, what is most important for you to know in order to apply it to your life, in order for you to be able to apply it to your life. But to sum it up, our soul contracts, the agreements that we make before incarnating into our physical bodies, are not set in stone. We have free will. Not everything is like predestined. We have the free will to pick and choose how successful we'll be, how far we will take things, how much work we will put into something. We can also put things off until another incarnation should it get to be too much. And karma is not meant to punish you. You are not meant to be punished for wrongdoing in a previous life. You are meant to learn from it. And the best way to learn from it is to walk a mile in the person's shoes. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to expand your awareness and expand your consciousness. We are so much more than just this incarnation. Our soul has so much more knowledge than we know from all of the lifetimes that we've lived. And you can always heal and reprogram yourself. You can reprogram your brain. It takes a lot of work. I'm in the process of that work. It takes a lot of work to do that. But we can learn to expand ourselves, expand our perspective, our minds, and our potential. We are so often put into boxes of who we should be, of what our future should look like, of what our professions should look like. We need to step out of those boxes and dream bigger, because the potential that we have on a soul level is unlimited. So I would play around with that, guys. I would play around with seeing how far you can manifest things into your reality, because the only thing that sets us back is ourselves. So that is the essentials that you guys need to know about soul contracts. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate your support. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please follow me on Instagram at The Soul Ecosystem or The Soul Ecosystem Podcast. Also, if you've recently purchased something from my Etsy shop, please leave a review. It means so much. Thank you all for being here for another episode, and tune in next Friday for episode number 11 of the Soul Ecosystem Podcast.